"Are you sure you hired the right person to clean here? This guy or English does not speak properly." Morrison Technologies' human resources manager whispered to his assistant, loud enough for Miguel to listen to, while organizing cleaning products in the corridor. The mirrored building of 20 floors in downtown San Francisco housed one of the most promising technology startups on the West Coast, and Miguel Santos had been hired just 3 days ago as a night caretaker. His Philippine accent was noticeable when he spoke, and that was all people needed to form a complete opinion about who he was. Amanda adjusted her blazer Prada and walked to Miguel with firm steps. "Listen well, I don't want to move anything but basic cleaning. Computers, documents, tables, none of this you play, understand?" She spoke slowly, as if talking to a child. Miguel nodded calmly, his dark eyes revealing a patience that came from years facing similar situations. At 42, he never imagined that his move to the United States would put him again in the position of being underestimated by people who didn't even bother to meet him. "And another thing," Amanda continued, turning to ensure that the other employees could hear, "the new app launch party is tomorrow. VIPs, investors, press. You get invisible, understand? Clean after everyone leaves." Behind the curtain of forced humility, Miguel had something that Amanda could never imagine: 14 years of experience as a senior software engineer in Manila, a specialization in artificial intelligence from the University of Filipinas, and fluency in 6 programming languages. But there was something much more specific that had brought him there: a carefully planned revenge. During lunch, Miguel observed young developers discussing technical problems that he could solve in minutes. Tyler Bennett, the main programmer, gestured nervously as he explained to Amanda why the app was presenting critical flaws for 2 days of the launch. "I don't understand what's going on," Tyler murmured, running hands through his hair. "Code should work perfectly, but something is crashing the whole system." Miguel continued sweeping near the group, invisible as always. His ears captured each technical word, every description of the problem. An almost imperceptible smile crossed his lips when Tyler mentioned the specific algorithm he was failing. As Amanda walked away, laughing softly at her assistant about the need to supervise this type of employee more closely, Miguel continued his work in silence. He had spent the past few weeks watching, listening, learning. Each careless conversation in the corridors, each password typed without care, each document left open on the screens. That night, alone in the building, Miguel could not resist taking a look at the codes that appeared on the screens left open by the developers. His experience immediately identified not only the critical failures that could collapse the entire system, but something much more interesting: evidence that the app was being developed with stolen code. During his years in the Philippine industry, Miguel had worked on a revolutionary AI project that was mysteriously abandoned after his company was bought by an American corporation. Now, looking at the lines of code on the screen in front of him, he recognized his own creation being sold as the original innovation of Morrison Technologies. A discreet smile crossed his face as he connected his pen drive into one of the machines. Amanda Morrison and her team had no idea that the ignorant janitor who despised so much was the true creator of the technology that would make them millionaires. There, in the silent corridors of the dawn, he remained firm as one who keeps a secret too powerful to be revealed ahead of time. If this story of prejudice and unexpected discoveries aroused its curiosity, be sure to subscribe to the channel to find out how a simple moment of discrimination would become the catalyst of a technological revolution that no one would ever forget. The launch party the following night turned the Morrison Technologies building into a show of arrogance disguised as sophistication. Millionaire investors circulated on the upper floors with crystal champagne cups, while the technology press documented each discourse on revolutionary innovation and future of artificial intelligence. Miguel arrived 2 hours before the event, as always. His cleaning routine had become a calculated performance. Each seemingly casual movement led him to the strategic locations where important enverse happened. No one noticed the Filipino caretaker scanning discreetly near the tables where prototypes and laptops were open. Amanda Morrison shone like the perfect hostess, circulating among the guests with her designer dress and commercial smile. "Our team worked tirelessly to create this revolutionary technology," she repeated to each journalist, gesturing toward Tyler and the other developers who proudly posed next to the screens displaying the code. During a break at the party, Miguel witnessed a conversation that confirmed his worst suspicions. Amanda was in the corner of the room, whispering on the phone with someone who clearly shouldn't hear that conversation. "Yes, we managed to implement the Philippine algorithm just as you suggested," she murmured, turning her back on the crowd. The original documentation was completely erased from the previous company's servers. There is no more trails that connect this to the original developer. Miguel felt his blood boil, but kept his neutral expression as he organized the cleaning materials. That confirmation was exactly what he needed. Not only had stolen his work, but they had deliberately destroyed evidence so that he could never prove the authorship. The night continued with pompous speeches about entrepreneurial vision and technological leadership. Tyler Bennett was presented as the genius behind innovation, receiving enthusiastic applause from an audience that had no idea that he was celebrating a successful intellectual theft. Around 11 at night, when the last guests finally left, leaving traces of empty glasses and dirty dishes, Miguel began his true mission. Alone in the building, he sailed the company's systems with the accuracy of those who knew each line of that code better than the creators themselves. In a hidden folder on the main server, he found exactly what he was looking for: emails detailing the strategic acquisition of his old company in the Philippines, correspondences about the need to eliminate redundant documentation, and, more devastating, internal conversations mocking the ingenuity of the Philippine developers who didn't even know the real value of what they had created. But Miguel discovered something even more disturbing at dawn. Stolen technology was not just the core of the new application. It was the basis of a surveillance system that would be sold to authoritarian governments, allowing mass monitoring of entire populations. Its original creation, developed to connect isolated communities in the Philippines, was being perverted into an oppression tool. While copying terabytes of evidence for encrypted drives, Miguel smiled for the first time in weeks. Amanda Morrison and Tyler Bennett had no idea that the ignorant caretaker, who had silently swept around her celebrations, had not only the technical skills to expose them, but also the international contacts needed to turn that discovery into a global catastrophe for Morrison Technologies. There, in the dark corridors at dawn, while lowering the last incriminating file, Miguel finally realized that his journey would not just be about recovering credit for his creation. It would be about preventing his technology from becoming a weapon against innocent people. Each new humiliation only strengthened something within him that his oppressors could not see, a silent determination being fed by his own injustice that they tried to perpetuate against him and those who would be harmed by his greed. In the weeks following the launch, Miguel watched Morrison Technologies sail for turbulent waters that only he knew how to calm down. The app had intermittent flaws that left Tyler and his team working until high hours, trying to solve problems that Miguel could correct in minutes. During this period, he carefully cultivated an unlikely friendship with Elena Rodriguez, a senior developer who worked on the third floor. Elena was one of the few people in the company that treated Miguel with basic respect, greeting him every night and occasionally asking his family in the Philippines, "Miguel, did you study computing before you come here?" He asked Elena one night, watching him carefully organize the network cables that other employees left messy. "You seem to understand these things better than most people." Miguel smiled modestly. "A little, yes, but here I learn a lot watching you work. A lot." What Elena didn't know was that Miguel had specifically chosen to approach her after discovering that she was the only developer who had internally questioned the sudden origin of the revolutionary algorithm. Your private emails, to Q. Weiss Miguel, had access during his night incursions, revealed suspicions about the impossible speed that Tyler had created such an advanced technology. Meanwhile, Miguel established contact with Marcus Chen, an investigative journalist specializing in technology who had covered intellectual property scandals in Silicon Valley. Using an anonymous email address, she began sending clues about irregularities at Morrison Technologies, always careful not to reveal her true identity. "There is something very suspicious in this company," he wrote to Marcus. "The main algorithm of their application contains code signatures dating from years before supposed creation. I am sending fragments for analysis." During a particularly productive dawn, Miguel finally found what he needed in the company's backup system: executive meetings audio files where Amanda and Tyler openly discuss how they had adapted Philippine technology, including detailed conversations on how to eliminate any trail from the original authorship. In an especially incriminating recording, Amanda's voice clearly echoed, "I need to be sure that there is no document that connects this to the original developer. I want all the documentation of the Philippine company to be completely erased from our servers." The most devastating discovery came in an encrypted file on Amanda's personal computer. Contracts already signed to sell technology to 3 governments known for human rights violations, transforming their community connectivity system into a state surveillance tool. Miguel began to plant strategic seeds of doubt. During casual conversations with Elena, she mentioned specific technical details about the algorithm she knew Tyler could never have developed alone. When she expressed confusion about certain programming decisions, Miguel subtly pointed to inconsistencies that only the true creator would notice. "It's strange," commented Elena one night. Some parts of this code seemed to have a completely different logic from the rest, as if they had been written by someone else with years more experience. Maybe Tyler had help? Suggested Miguel innocently, organizing the papers left on his table. The pressure began to clearly affect Tyler. His desperate attempts at correcting bugs that he did not fully understand resulted in new system failures. Amanda, realizing that the company's star product was crumbling, intensified its cruelty towards lower-level employees, especially Miguel. "Why is this place always a mess when you finish cleaning?" she shouted a night, throwing papers on the floor Miguel had just organized. "Do you not learn to work in the Philippines, or is it really lazy?" Miguel wiped the papers quietly, but this time Elena witnessed the scene. The expression on her face changed, a mixture of shame and anger that Miguel knew it would be crucial to his future plans. Public humiliation only strengthened Miguel's determination. That same night, he discovered something that would completely transform the game. Amanda had diverted funds for social projects in the Philippines, resources that should have helped needy communities to have access to technology, exactly the original purpose of their creation. The files revealed suspicious transfers totaling over $500,000, redirected to Amanda's personal accounts through a complex network of ghost companies. Money that should have connected rural schools to the internet had financed her luxury apartment in Nob Hill. Miguel also found that Tyler was being blackmailed by Amanda. Private emails revealed that the young developer had been forced to sign the authorship documents under threat of having his career destroyed. Tyler was, in many ways, also a victim of the corrupt system that Amanda had created. This revelation changed Miguel's perspective on revenge. It was no longer just about recovering credit for its creation, but of exposing an entire exploration network that impaired both talented developers and needy communities. There, in the silent shadows of dawn, while compiling terabytes of irrefutable evidence, Miguel finally realized that his mission would transcend the simple recovery of intellectual credit. Each new discovery about Morrison Technologies' systemic corruption fed a growing determination of exposing not only theft of its creation, but the entire exploration network that allowed people like Amanda to thrive at the expense of innovation and need for others. What those arrogant executives could not realize was that each act of contempt only strengthened the resolution of someone who both the technical skills and the evidence needed to completely dismantle the empire of lies they had built, transforming its own arrogance into the tool of its destruction. Monday morning at Morrison Technologies began like any other. But everything changed when Marcus Chen of TechWatch Journal published his special investigation. The empire built on stolen codes, like Morrison Technologies, fraudu developers. The detailed article included screenshots of Amanda's internal emails, recordings of executive meetings, and, even more devastating, a complete forensic analysis proving that the revolutionary algorithm had been directly copied from a Philippine company that had been mysteriously closed after a suspicious acquisition. Amanda arrived at the office to find journalists blocking the main entrance and staff whispering in small groups through the corridors. Her assistant intercepted her in the elevator with her cell phone shaking in her hands. "Mrs. Morrison, we need to talk urgently. The press is calling nonstop." "What press? What are you talking about?" Amanda practically shouted, pulling the phone out of his hands to read the headlines that appeared. Silicon Valley startup accused of intellectual theft. Philippine developers were true creators. Leaked documents reveal technological appropriation scheme. While Amanda faced chaos on the administrative floor, Miguel continued his cleaning routine as if nothing had happened. Elena found him on the third floor, calmly organizing the materials, while the entire building panicked around him. "Miguel, did you see the news? You have found that our main algorithm was stolen from a company in the Philippines." Elena paused, observing her reaction carefully. "It's strange, you never mentioned knowing this company when we talked about your experience there." Miguel smiled softly, continuing to organize the net cables. "In the Philippines, many technology companies are small. Sometimes people do not value what they create until they lose to others." At that very moment, Tyler Bennett broke out by the hallway, his red face of anger and despair. "Where is Amanda? Investors are canceling the contracts. The advice is demanding an emergency meeting." The emergency meeting was summoned to 2 p.m. in the main auditorium. Investors, board members, employees, and even some authorized journalists clustered in the space that, weeks earlier, had celebrated the company's innovative success. Amanda entered the auditorium trying to maintain the composure, but her hands treated visibly while holding a folder full of documents she expected to be able to use as a defense. Beside him, Tyler looked like a defeated man, knowing that his career had ended before he really began. "Gentlemen," Amanda started, her voice trying to sound firm, I believe there was a terrible misunderstanding. Our company has always operated within the highest ethical standards, but his words were interrupted when the auditorium doors opened and an unexpected figure entered. Miguel Santos, still wearing his caretaker uniform, walked calmly toward the stage carrying a laptop and a portable projector. The absolute silence took over the room. Amanda stared at him with a mixture of confusion and increasing horror. What? What are you doing here? You should be cleaning, no. Miguel connected his laptop to the main projection system and turned to face the audience. When he spoke, his accent had diminished significantly, revealing a fluency and sophistication that no one had realized before. My name is Miguel Santos, and I am the true creator of the algorithm you know as an intellectual property of Morrison Technologies. His voice echoed clear and controlled by the auditorium. During the last few weeks, I worked as a janitor in this company to document how my creation was stolen and perverted. The first projected slide showed his photo alongside the PhD certificate in computer science from the University of Filipinos, followed by his extensive experience as lead developer in Manila. The second slide showed the original timestamp codes dating from 3 years before Tyler's supposed creation. Amanda tried to get up, but her legs failed. This is impossible. You're just a janitor. You barely speak English, right? For 14 years, continued Miguel, completely ignoring interruption, developed connectivity systems for isolated communities in the Philippines. This specific algorithm was created to help rural schools access online educational resources. The third slide showed emails between Amanda and executives of an acquisition company discussing explicitly as eliminating tracks of the original authorship and rebranding of technology as American innovation. You not only have stole my creation, Miguel said, his voice now loaded with controlled but palpable emotion, but perverted it. What was to connect children to knowledge is being sold as a surveillance tool for authoritarian governments. The last slide showed the contracts Amanda had secretly signed, including specific values and implementation schedules for population monitoring systems in 3 countries with a history of human rights violations. Tyler buried his face in his hands, his tears finally starting to fall. Amanda remained paralyzed, her mind unable to sue as the ignorant caretaker she had humiliated for weeks was, in fact, the genius behind all the fortune she expected to build. There, at the center of that auditorium where a few weeks ago had been treated as invisible, Miguel finally revealed not only his true identity, but the complete extension of the betrayal he had suffered. Each word pronounced with the accuracy of those who had endured calculated humiliations, knowing that this moment of absolute justice would justify every second of forced silence and every drop of contempt that had swallowed as it methodically built the complete destruction of those who had tried to steal not only their creation, but the future of whole communities that depended on this technology to prosper. In the days that followed the explosive revelation, Morrison Technologies came to full collapse. Investors withdrew financing, government contracts were canceled, and a federal investigation was opened to examine not only intellectual theft, but also the national security implications of the surveillance scheme. Amanda Morrison was formally accused of corporate fraud, misappropriation, and violation of intellectual property rights. Tyler Bennett, recognized as an accomplice under coercion, cooperated with the authorities in exchange for a reduced sentence. Elena Rodriguez was promoted the interim technical director of the new company that emerged from the rubble of Morrison Technologies. Miguel, now publicly recognized as the true genius behind revolutionary technology, has received an unexpected proposal from 5 of the largest technology companies in Silicon Valley. Instead of accepting any of them, he chose a different path that surprised everyone. I will found my own company, announced in a news conference 3 weeks after the revelation, but this time, it will be exactly as it should always have been, focused on connecting needy communities to knowledge and opportunity. Miguel's new company, called Connect Filipinos, established its headquarters in San Francisco, but with a crucial difference. 50% of profits would be automatically intended for educational projects in the Philippines and other needy communities around the world. Elena Rodriguez accepted the invitation to be her partner and technical director. The first project was to connect all the rural schools from the Philippines to the high-speed internet, exactly the original purpose of its creation, before it was stolen and perverted. In 6 months, more than 1,000 schools already had access to educational resources that were once unthinkable. Amanda, after losing everything, home, cars, reputation, and freedom, was sentenced to 8 years in prison and the payment of compensation that totaled more than $15 million. His last posts on social networks before conviction were supplications desperate for forgiveness and pathetic attempts to retract as a victim of complex circumstances. Tyler found work as a junior developer in a small startup, where he slowly began to rebuild his career under supervision. Traumatic experience has completely transformed it. It was now known for its brutal honesty about technology ethics and permits other young developers about the dangers of ambition without principles. 6 months after the revelation, Miguel received an invitation to lecture at the world's leading technology conference, Tech Global Summit. When he took the stage, no longer as an invisible caretaker, but as the CEO of one of the most promising startups of the decade, the entire auditorium rose in a 5-minute ovation. A year ago, his talk began, I swept the corridors of this industry, literally invisible to those who considered themselves superior. Today I can say that this experience taught me the most valuable lesson of my career. True innovation does not come from arrogance or theft, but the humility of genuinely wanting to improve the world. Elena, now a millionaire thanks to Connect Filipinos' stock options, has created a developer-specific scholarship fund ensuring talents like Miguel never needed to disguise it to prove their value. Marcus Chen, the journalist who first exposed the scandal, won the Pulitzer Award for his investigation, which was later adapted to a Netflix documentary that became one of the most assisted in the history of the platform. A year after the humiliation in the corridor of Morrison Technologies, Miguel was in his office with panoramic views of San Francisco Bay, signing a contract to bring free internet to rural communities throughout Latin America. At his table, a framed photo showed himself by sweeping those same corridors where he now walked as the owner of one of the most respected companies in the world. The best revenge was not to destroy Amanda Morrison or Tyler Bennett. It was to build something so grand and significant that it made its crime seem even smaller and pathetic. Miguel has learned that when you turn your injustice into fuel to create something bigger that your oppressors could never imagine, you not only win, you redefine what victory means. If this story of resistance, intelligence, and justice has touched your heart, subscribe to the channel for more narratives that prove that true strength is not humiliating others, but in raising so loud that those who tried to diminish you are too small to be seen from above.